Welcome to another Hebrew class, and we welcome you, all those that are keen in trying to understand your scriptures better by learning the Hebrew. So, we'd like to welcome you. And we do pray that these lessons are achievable, are easy enough for anyone at any stage to follow. And so, we will begin today with Chanan, John 18, verses 11 to 15. So let us begin. And as I always do, because we don't know who's going to come on this episode, so we have our vowel markings called Nakud, and the resources that we use to determine meanings and that, and they're very useful. This particular website is excellent for practicing. And then, of course, we always use the Do It in Hebrew dictionary because we want to understand the root meaning of the words. And I've got a chart showing us how we can use the vowel markings. So let us begin. And as we can see, we're in verse 11. It's represented with a yod and a lef. Yod has a value of 10, and the lef, of course, first letter of the alphabet has a value of 1. And as usual, we go through the letters. Vav, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Yod, Hey, Vav, Shin, Ayin, Aleph, Lamed, Kaf, Fei, because there's no dot, Hey. Then we have Hey, Shin, Veit, because there's no dot, Chet, Resh, Bayet because of the dot, Kaf Sofit, Kaf at the end of the word, Aleph, Lamed, Nun, Dalet, Nun, and Hey. And we read it. Va Yomer. Now when there's no pronoun, it's he. And he said. And then who said? Yeshua. El Kepha. To Kepha, ha-sheath, return, charbeka, your sword, el-tu nedana, meaning to its scabbard. And again, the pronoun at the end with the dagesh, often that's how we know it's the pronoun, it's its. So in other words, it can be a person, but it can also be it. So as a hey, it's it, right? To its scabbard. So now we know where we're dealing with. We're talking about when Yeshua was arrested, if we followed last week. And we're talking about where Kepha decides to come and draw out his sword. And that's what we're talking about. So Yeshua said to Peter, return your sword to its sheath. Right, and down here I've got shav, is a kal verb meaning to return or repeat an action. And then we got heshiv, which is a verb to return something or to reply, therefore return an answer. Just helping us to see how the words are used. And then we have nadan, which is the masculine noun for scabbard or sheath. And that's how we know that the hey at the end is its scabbard. So let us now read that. Without any help anywhere and any interference. So we read, Va yomer Yahushua el Kepha ha-sheath charbeka el nedana. Remembering that the kamatz is a longer a sound, so we go, and often where we go to shiva, it can often be followed with a nun, with a sort of sound. So we have ne da na. Right, now we look at the translation just to remind ourselves. And he said, Yahusha or Yeshua, to Kepha, return your sword to its scabbard. And we're in 11b now, and we got a Hey, Lamed, Aleph, Shin, Tav, Hey. Aleph, Tav, Hey, Kaf, Vav, Samek. Aleph, Shin, Resh, Nun, Tav, Nun Sofit. Lamed, Yod, Aleph, Vayet, Yod. And we read, Hello. Now what does that tell us? With the Hey in front of it, tells us it's a questioning Hey. So therefore it is shall not. And then it is esh te. We know shate means drink. So therefore the aleph at the beginning is a pronoun. So it's I drink. Shall not I drink? Et grammamaka ha kos. Meaning the cup. Because if we look here, kos is a feminine noun. It means goblet or cup. Asher, which or that. Natan has given. Li, to me. Avi, my father. So the translation, shall I not drink the cup that my father has given me? And now we can read that. And it is Halo esh te et ha kos asher natan li avi. And the translation, just to remind us. Shall not I drink, grammar marker, the cup that has given to me my father? And now we come to 12, represented with a yod value of 10 and a vayet value of 2. And then we read through the letters. Aleph, Zayin, Tav, Fei, Sin, because the dot's on that side, Vav, Hey, Gimel, Dalet, Vav, Sin, Resh, Hey, Aleph, Lamed, Fesofit, Vav, Mem, Shin, Resh, Tav, Yod, Hey, Vav, Dalet, Yod, Mem, Sofit. Remembering also that where we see example here, the Vav is an O sound, and here the Vav is an U sound. So let's read it. Uz. Then. Uz. Meaning then. Tough. So. Meaning captured him. If we look down here, tafas. Tafas. It's interesting that it's using the samek in the dictionary rather than the sin, but they're the same sound. Tafas is a call verb to catch, to apprehend. Right? And you'll notice that here I've said tof, and we see the Kamat's grammar rule, which is, it is a short O sound in an unaccented closed syllable, usually the first. Right? So we see that's the first. It's a closed syllable, meaning there's no vowel after the fe. So it's tof, so. Right. And then we have Ha-Gedud. Ha-Gedud is the regiment. It can mean battalion or regiment. The Sar and the captain. Now, Sar can mean prince, or it can mean leader or captain, right? So we're talking about the captain. The regiment and the captain. Ha-Elef. Literally of the thousand. So the captain of the thousand, which is translated often as, it's a different one, yeah. So the captain of the thousand. So he's a high ranked captain, right? Sharate, and servants of. Now we know sharet means servant, right? Servants. Right, so it's and the servants of. Often with the ending like that, it's of Ha-Yehudim, of the Yehudim. So the translation was, then the regiment and the captain and the officers of the Jews captured. So we can see how the Hebrew reverses the sort of structure of the sentence. So let us now read that without any aid. Az taf so ha gedud v'sar ha-elef sharate ha-Yehudim. And the translation is, then captured him the regiment and the captain of the 1,000 and the servants of the Yehudim. And then we come to part B, and we have an aleph, a tav, a yod, a hey, a vav, a shin, an ayin, a vav, a yod, an aleph, a samek, a resh, a hey, a vav. And we read it. Et grammar marker, Yahushua, or Yahusha. Vayasruhu, Vayasruhu, and bound him. If we look down here, asar is a kol verb, to tie up, to imprison, to chain up. The prefix of the vav and the yod gives us a completed action, like a past tense, that it has already happened, and bound him, and that's why it's not to bind, it is and bound him. So, from the previous verse, captured Yeshua and bound him. And we can now read that. Et Yahushua vayasruhu. Grammar marker, Yahusha, and bound him. And now we come to 13, which is represented with the yod and a gimel. Yod is 10, gimel is 3. And then the letters. Vav, yod, vav, lamed, yod, kaf, hey, vav, vayet, resh, shin, vav, nun, hey, aleph, lamed, chet, nun, nun, safit, kaf, yod, hey, vav, aleph, hey, yod, hey, chet, vav, tav, nun, safit, kuf, yod, fei, and aleph. So I'm just trying to do it a bit quicker so we can really stretch our knowledge a bit. Vayoli kuhu, right? Vayoli kuhu, and led him. Now how do we get that? So if we got holik is a verb to lead, to transport, to cause, to go, right? And led him. Again, because we've got the prefixes of the vav, right, and the yod, it then makes it like a completed action, and led him. Va-rishonah, in the first, because we know rishon is first. So in the first. L2, Chanan, Key for who he, Haya was, Choten, which means father-in-law, Caiaphas. And of course we know Caiaphas is Caiaphas. Right, so Rishon meaning first. It's the noun for first. So now the sentence reads in English, first they led him to Annas, well, which is not quite right. His name is Chanan. So out of Chanan they got Annas, which is sort of, they've the beginning of it's not quite right. They've left off the front. And then they've changed it. But that's how it's translated, maybe from the Greek. For he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas. Right, now we can read that. And we get Va yo li ku hu Va rishona el Chanan ki hu haya choten Caiaphas. And the translation. And led him in the first to Chanan, for he was father-in-law of Caiaphas. And now we have part B, which is an Aleph Shin Resh, Shin Mem Shin, Bet Kaf He Nun He, Gimel Daled Vav Lamed He, Bet Shin Nun He, He Yod Aleph. And we read, Asher, who, because we know that Asher can mean that, which, whom, who, or, yeah, it can even mean when or which, right? And then we have Shemesh, served. It also comes from the root noun we had before for servant, so Shemesh can also mean served. It's interesting that Shemesh also means sun or sunlight, whereas down here Shemesh is a PL verb to serve, to wait upon, which sort of gives us the understanding that the sun is our servant, whereas the ancients worshipped it, but it serves us. It's been given to us to serve us. And then we have bikuna, in the priesthood. Because if we look down here, kahuna is a feminine noun meaning priesthood or a senior position. And we have gedolah, meaning the great, right? Served in the priesthood, the great. In other words, the great priesthood meaning the high priesthood, right? Ba shana, in the year, because shana means year. Ha he, that, rather than ha hu, which is like a masculine form. Ha he becomes the feminine form of that. Because when we're talking about many things, they're feminine or feminine or masculine, right? And that's what we have in Hebrew. Then the end of the previous part was Caiaphas, who served as high priest that year. So we understand the meaning then. And now we can read it. Asher, Shemesh, Huna, Gedola, Ba Shana, Hahi. And the translation, who served in the priesthood, the great, in the year that. Then we come to 14, and it's represented with a Yod and a Dalet. And then we have Hey, Vav, Aleph, Kuf, Yod, Fe, Aleph, Aleph, Shin, Resh, Yod, Ayin, Zade, Sofit, Aleph, Tav, Hey, Yod, Hey, Vav, Dalet, Yod, Mem, Sofit, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Tet, Vav, Vet. And we read it. Who, which is he or he was, Caiaphas, which we know is Caiaphas. Asher, who, Ya'atz, advised. If we look down here, Ya'atz is a kol verb to advise, to provide consultation. Advised et grammar marker Ha-Yehudim, the Jews, right, the Yehudim, lemor, saying, tov, good, or normally translated, it is good. This was the Caiaphas who advised the Jews, saying, it is better. That's how it's translated. So now let's read that. And it is, who Caiaphas asher ya'atz et ha-Yehudim lemor tov. And the translation, he was Caiaphas who advised Grandma Micah the Yehudim, saying, it is good. And then we have Aleph Shin Resh, Aleph Yod Shin, Aleph Chet Dalet, Yod Aleph Veit Dalet, Bayet Ayin Dalet, Kaf Lamed, Hey Ayin Mem Safit. And we read, Asher, that Ish, a man, Echad, one man, Yovad, shall perish. Ba'ad, on behalf of. If we look down here, Ba'ad is a prep in favor of, for the sake of, on behalf of. And we know that Avad means to be lost, to perish, to destroy. Shall perish on behalf of Kol, all, Ha'am, the people. And of course it's Kol because it's the Kamatz rule, grammar rule that we follow. Right, so in the normal English, it is better that one man should perish on behalf of all the people. So, now we read it. Asher, Ish, Echad, Yovad, Be'at, Kol, Ha'am. And the translation, that a man, one, shall perish on behalf of all the people. And then we have 15. Now 15 is represented with the tet and the vav. Tet being 9 and the vav being 6. So this is incorrect. So it's 9 and 6, which is 15. And then we have the Shimon and Simon. Kepha, which is Peter. The Talmid and the disciple. Acher, meaning another disciple. Halku, they followed. Because halak can mean to go, it can mean to walk, it can mean to follow. So then we say they followed. Achare, after Yahushua or Yahusha. So Simon, Peter, and another disciple followed Yeshua. So I've got down here what halak meant, and then you've also got hilak, which is the PL verb to wander around, to spread a rumour. In other words, to spread around, right? And then we got helik, which is a masculine noun for a wanderer, a nomad. So it just shows you how the same word with slight changes in vowels and that can change meanings. That's why I've given you that. So, now let's read that. The Shimon, Kepha, the Talmid, Acher, Halku, Achare, Yahushua. And the translation, and Simon, Shimon, Kepha, and a disciple, another, they followed after Yahusha. And then we come to part B. And we see we've got a Vav, a Hey, a Tav, a Lamed, Mem, Yod, Dalet, Hey, Hey, Vav, Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey, Nun, Vav, Dalet, Ayin, Lamed, Kaf, Hey, Nun, Safit, Hey, Gimel, Dalet, Vav, Lamed. And now let's read it. The Ha-Talmid, and the disciple, Ha-Hu, that, Haya was, no da, known, because the nun tells us its root, of course, is yada. Now I've got here down here, no da is a verb to be known, to be brought to one's attention. And as an adjective, no da, as an adjective means famous or well known. So he's known, in other words, right? Was known la kohen, meaning to the priest. Ha-gadol, the great. In other words, the high, right? So they followed Yeshua. That disciple was known by the high priest, or to the high priest. Right, so now we can read that. And it is V'ha-talmid, ha-hu, haya, noda, la kohen, ha-gadol. And the translation, and the disciple that was known to the priest, the great priest. Right, and then we have part C. We have a Vav, a Yod, Vayet, Aleph, Ayin, Mem Safid, Yod, Hey, Vav, Shin, Ayin, Lamed, Chet, Zade, Resh, Hey, Kaf, Hey, Nun Safid, Hey, Gimel, Dalet, Vav, Lamed. And we read it. Vaya vo. And he came. So how do we know it's came? Simply because it's got a prefix, the Vav and the Yod. Because vo means to come, but with the Yod it means shall come, and with the Vav it means and came. And came im with Yahushua la chatzar, to the courtyard. Right, to the courtyard. Chatzar is the courtyard, right? Ha-kohen, of the priest, because it's the priest, right? So the courtyard, the priest, of the priest. So I add the of. Ha-gadol, the great, or the high, known by the high priest, and came with Yeshua to the courtyard of the high priest. So we quickly read that one now. Vayavo im Yahushua la chatzar ha-kohen ha-gadol. And the translation. And came with Yeshua. And you could say, and he came with Yeshua, because we're talking about the other disciple, with Yeshua to the courtyard of the priest, the great. Right. And now, that brings us now to the revision to see just how much we retained of all that at the level that we're at. And each one will be at a different level, but that's okay. We're just seeing how we're understanding. So first we know that Yod is a value of 10. Aleph is a value of 1. So we're in 11, and it is Vayomer. And he said, and then who said? Yahushua, L2, Kepha, which is Peter, Ha-shev, return. It's like an imperative. Char Beika, your sword. L2, Nedana, to its scabbard. And he said, Yahushua to Kepha, return your sword to its scabbard. Ha lo, shall not. Esh te, I drink. Et, grammar marker. Hakos, the cup. Asher, that. Natan is given. or was given, lead to me, Avi, my father. So my father has given, right? Translation, shall not I drink the cup, grammar marker, that has given to me my father. And then we have Yod 10, Vayet 2, we're in 12. And it is, us, then, tough, so, captured him. Ha-Gadud, the regiment or battalion, the Tsar, and the captain or prince, Ha-Elef, of the 1,000, Sharate, and the servants of Ha-Yehudim, the Jews. Then captured him the regiment and the captain of the 1,000 of and servants of the Yehudim. And now we're in part B of that one, and it is at grammar marker Yehoshua Vayasruhu, and they bound him. And they bound him. So they, because it's got the U there, and they bound him. Because it's sort of got two pronouns, but the pronoun is hidden in the kibbutz here. And they bound him. Right? Grammar marker Yeshua, and bound him. But I'm telling you that with the kibbutz, they've added the kibbutz to say, and they bound him. And then we got the Yod 10, Gimel 3. Right, so we're in 13. Va Yolikuhu. And again, and they led him. So in the translation will say, and led him, but again the kibbutz is telling us they. They led him. Va Rishonah, meaning in the first, to Chanan, ki, for, who, he, haya, was, choten, meaning father-in-law, Caiaphas, of Caiaphas, and led him in the first to Chanan, for he was father-in-law of Caiaphas, Asher, who, because that can be that or who, Shemesh, served, Bikhuna, in the priesthood, Gadola, the great, meaning the high priesthood, Ba Shana, in the year, Shana is year, Ha-He, that, who served in the priesthood, the great, in the year, that. And then we have Yod 10, Dalet 4, we're in verse 14. Who, which is he, Caiaphas, Asher, who Ya'atz, advised, or gave consultation, et, grammar marker, Ha-Yehudim, the Jews, lemor, saying, Tov, good. Right, but of course we add in there, it is good, right? He was Caiaphas, who advised the Yehudim, saying, it is good. And then we have Asher, that, Ish, a man, where there's no hey in there, it's not the man, it's a man, Echad, one, Yovad, shall perish, Ba'ad, meaning on behalf of or for the sake, Kol, of all Ha'am, the people. That a man one shall perish on behalf of all the people. And then we have tet, which has a value of 9, and a vav value of 6. 9 and 6, 15. And then we begin. The Shimon and Simon, Kepha, Peter, the Talmid, and the Talmid, the disciple, or a disciple, it should be a disciple because there's no hey there. Acher, meaning another. Halku, they followed, because remember halak can also mean follow. Acharei, after. So you could even say they went after. Yeshua. And Shimon, Kepha, and a disciple, another, they followed after Yeshua. And now we're in part B, where it is the ha-talmid, and the disciple, now this time it's the disciple, hahu, that, haya, was, noda, meaning known, la kohen, to the kohen, hagadol, the high priest, in other words, the great priest. And the disciple that was known to the priest, the great. Then we have vayavo, and he came with Yahushua, la chatzar, to the courtyard, ha kohen, of the priest, the courtyard of the priest, ha gadol, the great priest or the high priest. And he came with Yahushua to the courtyard of the priest, the great. Remembering that where there's no pronoun, it's he. And he came, because we're talking about the particular disciple. Right? Right, very good. So, and he came with Yeshua to the courtyard of the priest, the great. And again, so that we have better understanding of our vowels, we go through some of them each week. And here we have a vav with the dot next to it, and it's called a shuruk, and therefore the vav becomes silent and we just say ooh. And then we have kubutz. Now we notice that it's also ooh sound, but it's like it's a longer sound because it's kubutz. And then we have a kataf segol. So it's a combination here of shava and segol. Segol is a short E sound, se. Then we have chi, which is a short I. Kataf patak, again, combination. It's a patak, which has a short A sound. And then we have kataf kamatz, longer A sound. So as we read the kamatz as a longer sound than the pa. Right, and then again, we have our chart of the values of the individual letters. And the trickiest ones are always the ones where there's combinations of them, like we had one today. Like we could have the values of, say, 15 and 16, like that. They're always tricky. But as we recognize the values of the letters, we'll find that it's relatively easy. So we have Zadeh has a value of 90. Pei or Fei has a value of 80. Ayin has a value of 70. Samek a value of 60. Nun a value of 50. And Mem has a value of 40. And I've repeated our useful resources being beit-hamashiach.com, very useful resource. All the scriptures in Hebrew, in the modern Hebrew, in the ancient Hebrew, and in the Greek, and their transliteration and color-coded. So it's a very useful resource that I've used for years. And also do it in the Hebrew dictionary. very useful in determining exactly if the translation is correct for the root word that we discover in a word. And so I'd like to just thank you for joining us, and I do pray these are a blessing to you too, because they help us all in learning the Hebrew so we can discern exactly the translation. We should have that ability. So I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you again.